everyone. This is Vern Davis. I'm your host of Plant Profits, and Plant Profits is brought to you by Produce Global. And our guest today, I'm real excited to meet this gentleman. He and I actually, it's funny, we've tried to meet each other for about 3 or 4 times. It just hadn't worked out, but we got it done today. And he's spent 30 years of experience in building businesses, restructuring multinational organizations around the world with a strong emphasis on consumer healthcare. And he's been in this cannabis space since 2015. My guest today is Mr. John Mueller. He is the CEO of Greenlight Dispensary. How are you, John?
Wonderful. Finally got this done. So we're excited to have a fun day today.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm really excited. And you know, the times are very interesting now in our space, right? And you are playing in a game. You've been playing in it. Hell, you've been playing in it for 8 years now. And so I think that's amazing. You get 8 years is like, 108 years. I mean, every year is like 10 years. Right?
We're definitely dog years in this industry. So it's been challenging, and we've done all kinds of businesses, as you mentioned, all over the world, from breaking up concrete in the Ukraine and operating a cattle feedlot in China to doing all kinds of tech deals and everything else. And the cannabis industry is by far the most challenging when you get the regulatory environment, the politics, and then obviously growing a lot of ladies in each of our cultivation centers. That's it's been a fun little ride here.
Oh, it's great. And I just want to take the audience back and just, I think it's always interesting to just really understand how and why an individual in their sane mind gets into this business, right? And we have to assume you're sane. So we're going to go with that, John, that you're sane. But your base is home, right? You are a Midwesterner now. You worked all over the world in these diverse and variety of businesses, but you're in Missouri, right?
Yeah. We reside here. Grew up in St. Louis and live in Kansas City now, but always been a Midwestern boy until did a little stint in Texas, but always been kind of in the Midwest and have those core values. And then went out to Sin City and Las Vegas to win our first licenses. So sold my soul to get into the cannabis industry, and I'm thrilled I did so.
But you did, you did, and I'm sure that's closer to the truth than we would ever know. But if you take a look at it, I mean, you were in businesses like barbecue, you were in concrete, you were in whatever. Yeah. But they were all entrepreneurial adventures. And
so I've been partners with my brother since got out of the University of Missouri, Mizzou. So and have basically never signed the back of a payroll check. Always signed the front, and every once in a while you get to sign the back. And when you're the entrepreneur, so we're both completely unemployable. And so we've got to get out and get a hustle and build some decent businesses up. And from the barbecue days, and you look back in history of just being an entrepreneur, you always want to do things over again with the knowledge you have today. So we feel like we're a little better bosses than we used to be, and we're a little better operators than we used to be.
Well, I'm sure you are, and I'm sure with age and time, wisdom follows and joins the club. Now, if we take a look at, let's just take me through the last business before cannabis and walk me through the journey of getting into where you are, because we got a lot to talk about today about what you guys are actually doing. You're doing a hell of a lot in the industry, and you're good for everything. So, but what were you doing? And tell me about that conversation with your brother Jim that said, "Okay, we're going to do this." I want to get there.
Well, our main thing that paid the bills, we got an international road construction company, so we break up concrete on highways and airports around the world. Like we had the EVAC machine from Kiev when Russia started bombing, so that job went away quickly. And trials and tribulations, working over the UK and down in Mexico today, and all those other things. So that was a breadwinner. And we have some tech companies and some animal testing companies and some other things that have turned into the side hustles. if you will. And then actually it wasn't me going, my brother came to me. So his father-in-law was in a medical collective out in California. So we got to ride on some patient visits and kind of saw the power of the plant. And then went out to Nevada and really ran the table on applications, partner with the Morton Steakhouse family, Michael and Jenna Morton. And obviously their brother built the Hard Rock out there, et cetera. And so you had to have a local partner out there, and we built up a 19,000 square foot dispensary, which was the largest in the country at the time, with a museum and our farmers market and open view kitchen, really some cool stuff. And obviously Planet 13 came in after us and made us look like little children as far as our size. But and then we had about 300,000 square feet we did up in 90 miles north of there, and simultaneously we opened another 270,000 square feet over in California and sold.
Now, when was that? When was that? What years?
So we would have been 2015, 16 to win the licenses. Okay. And so get up and operating in 16, 17 on those, and basically built it up over the next 2 years. And in 2019, Curaleaf came in, the largest operator in the country, and offered us a deal that made a lot of sense to roll into the Curaleaf family. And we had a non-compete out there, so we came back to the Midwest and started building Greenlight.
Yeah. Now this is really cool. So you sold to Curaleaf in 19. Did you stay on for transition, or you guys were just out? So they just took over the dispensaries?
I stayed on. We signed our deal in March of 2019, and with regulatory and that, it takes a while. So I think I evac'd the family out of there in November of 2019. They've got obviously a huge staff in that, and our operators, and we never wanted to be an employee of Curaleaf. So we were allowed to evac out of there, and we had a non-compete, so we couldn't come back to California and Nevada, which has since expired. But it was a good transaction for both of us, and really got our, that's kind of our Cannabis 1.0. And then when we founded Greenlight, that's kind of Cannabis 2.0 for us. So we've taken a lot of lessons and mistakes from that and start rolling.
Yeah. So how many people, when you were in Vegas and California and in that original business, how many people had working for you and Jim?
I would think about that one. Maybe 100 and 120, 130, somewhere in there, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't, I was thinking maybe 200 or 300 people, because the size of those, it wasn't as quite that many.
Well, actually we had 120. Yeah, maybe it's 150. I'd have to go back and look, but somewhere around there, not near the scale we're at nowadays, but
so you grabbed your grip, and did you come back immediately back to Missouri, and started the Greenlight project, or was the Greenlight thing already happening? You guys knew you wanted to do something in the Midwest.
We won one license and had the first Greenlight in Arkansas, which was in 2018, roughly. And so we had our first Greenlight back there, and we're pretty good at winning licenses versus going out and buying them like other groups. So we had our first Greenlight in the second poorest county in the United States, down in Helena. And we were able to win a license down there, and you could only win one. And since then we've acquired a couple, but it allowed us to come back, and I never sold my house here in Kansas City. I always knew I was coming back here, and my wife and kids want to get back to their normal schools. So we got out of Las Vegas and brought them back to the Midwest values.
Oh, that's great. You knew you were coming back. That's awesome, man. Look, so you had this Arkansas business. So before you did the flip with Curaleaf, and you guys came back to the Midwest, and you said you're going to do something special here in the Midwest, right? I mean, that was your thing. I mean, there was a big opportunity. The Midwest, I think, this cannabis deal is really regional explosions, a series of regional explosions. You had the West Coast, and you have the East Coast, and you guys are kind of the driver in the Midwest, and you've made it a point to be special in a place you're ultra familiar with. And so tell me about that thought process and from the Greenlight perspective, and why it's called Greenlight.
Yeah. I think coming back to the Midwest, we obviously are very fortunate that, at least the big five publicly traded guys kind of see us as flyover land, or they used to, prior to some recent news. But we're a big multi-billion-dollar deal we got that we're working on now. So it was flyover, and when you don't have those big companies competing for licenses, it makes your life a little bit easier, and it's a little bit easier to win. And then the Greenlight, we've always been branding guys, but I got to give credit to my my graphics designer. He just said the word Greenlight out loud one time, and we ran with it, built our G up, and it's I walk through the airport and they see that icon on my chest, and I get all kinds of people that now know that that brand out there. So it's something to be very prideful about.
That's great. That's great. When we come back, we're going to really dive into your market strategy. So I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with John Mueller, who is the CEO of Greenlight Dispensaries. I'm Vern Davis. I'm your host of Plant Profits, and Plant Profits is proudly brought to you by Produce Global. And we'll be right back. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back, everyone. I'm Vern Davis. I am your host of Plant Profits, and Plant Profits is brought to you proudly by Produce Global. And my guest today is Mr. John Mueller. He is the CEO of Greenlight Dispensaries. Now, John, so talk to me about your footprint. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about that big, beautiful G. Okay, and where do people see that G? So tell us a little bit about the footprint.
Yeah, so our biggest footprint's here in Missouri. We've got 15 stores scattered from St. Louis, Kansas City, down the southeast, southwest. So we got 14 stores that just went adult use, and hopefully we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
And then we've got 3 Greenlights down in Little Rock, West Memphis, and down in Helena, as I mentioned before. And now we've got a big push out West Virginia. Fortunate enough to win some licenses out there. We currently have.
How many you got out there?
We've got 5 that are up and done, and I've got another 4 that are under construction. And so we're going to end up.
You're going to be 9 strong in West Virginia, baby?
9 strong in West Virginia. So I don't know if it's a good idea or bad idea, but we like that market long term. It's a little painful from the patient count today. And then moving back towards us, we got a new store open in Chicago next month. Up in Park City, right on the Wisconsin border. We think that's going to be a really nice adult use store. And then out in South Dakota, we've got 2 up and operating, another 4 under construction out there. And then we, as you look at us, so we got 26 total open today. I've got another 9 under construction, getting ready somewhere in the process to get open. And then obviously we're attacking, Florida applications are out. Everybody's going after.
So how many is Florida wanting to add?
22.
22. And so how close are they announcing the winners?
Well, we submit the applications on April 28th. So
April 28th.
How long maybe by the end of the year, by the end of the year, with lawsuits and all the fun stuff our industry goes through. So
well, you guys keep the lawyers busy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Unbelievable.
And then we're trying to be on the tip of the spear too, as far as these new states flipping. And obviously, as an activist, we think all these states should get dialed in and get regulated and taxed. So like Alabama, we submitted down there for one of the integrated licenses. There's only 5 of those, and then Texas has another 3 to 4 that are coming out here and submitting to end of April too. And then legislatively, we work hard in places like North Carolina to try and move medical marijuana bills through. The state of Kansas here as well. We try to push on all those fronts and be kind of at the tip of the spear as the plant continues to expand around the country.
That's great, man. And how sweet was it, when the Big Mo opened up with adult use? How was that?
Yeah, it was a big deal. We were one of
Uh-huh.
the larger contributors
Yeah.
to the initiative, and I'm very proud of our team. We went out and collected more signatures than anybody else, had more volunteers than anybody else, and really
Okay.
got out to vote, and obviously won that pretty handily here. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we thought Arkansas would also be flipping adult use, and that was a shellac
Yeah.
that was taken down there. So hopefully in 24 we come back with that. It's crazy that their borders are touching these states and not going in a different direction.
So do you spend a lot of time in Arkansas?
Not as
To try
much
to
as I
get that
do.
done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my brother mainly handles Arkansas for us, but
Uh-huh.
you know, I'm only down there maybe once a quarter, and so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
we got a
So
good
you
team
think the
down there.
environment can change in 24 months there?
I think it's going to take something at the ballot box to get anything changed down there. It's pretty
Yeah.
conservative state, still have dry counties.
Right.
Obviously heavily red state, but so is Missouri. Missouri voted
Right.
16% for Trump, and obviously the conservatives and Republicans have seen the difference between taxing and regulating versus the promoting the black
Mhm.
market.
Why do you suspect that one of the major political parties haven't just said, I am going to absolute embrace this? And I mean, whoever does that, John's going to win elections.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it flips it that much, but going back
Yeah.
to the Nancy Reagan, just say no, and
Yeah.
I grew up with that as well, and I
Yeah.
think just getting those perceptions, and anybody when you talk to your Republican friend or highly conservative friend, most of them have tried cannabis at this juncture in the world, and obviously, as we say, it's a lot better than that scotch that they got sitting next to them. So
Yeah.
we are. I think those are flipping. You got 90% approval rating across the country for medical marijuana. Obviously, it tightens
Yeah.
up when you go to adult use, but
Yeah, but it's still over 50%. It's still 60%.
yeah,
It's still people are starting to understand, people like you, the efforts that you put in to educate,
yeah,
right? And understand that right. No one's ever overdosed from marijuana, man.
yeah.
It
No,
just, yeah, it's not a killer.
yeah,
It's a
we
healer.
got
It's a healer.
obviously all the stuff. It's scary now too, the black market, and
Yeah.
stuff laced with fentanyl. You got 70,000 deaths from fentanyl last year. I mean, it's crazy
Yeah.
numbers that if you can get something tested and controlled, not just from a business standpoint, but making sure that that's staying out of the hands of everybody. And I think
Yeah.
what you'll start seeing, like Kansas is, I think we're going to
Yeah.
get something through the legislature this year. But I'm optimistic about that at least. But
Okay.
you look over, they look across the board, and all of a sudden Missouri is adult use. You got a lot of Kansas people coming over, and also
Yeah.
nothing bad is happening. There's not riots in
Yeah.
the street,
Exactly. Exactly. There's no horror stories to tell, right?
yeah.
And then what
They're
the
missing
first
the bad headline that they're looking for, and it just hasn't come around in the last 2 decades.
No, it hasn't. And so that boogie monster is just not there.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just not there. You look, what did you guys do? Like well, the state did what, 15 million the first weekend, opening
Yeah,
weekend? It's
yeah,
crazy.
12.8 in the first 3 days.
Yeah.
So and
It's
that was
crazy.
we got our licenses that weekend, wasn't even supposed to happen. So I didn't know I was going to open for rec until like an hour and a half before I opened for rec. So
Are you serious?
yeah, oh
Oh
yeah, it
my
was
God. Like, oh my God. So you guys have 26 now that are operating.
yep, yes.
And at the end of 23, you'll have how many you suspect to be operating?
Well, I'm hoping the number is 40. Right now, I got 36 in my pocket. I'm trying
Okay.
to get those other 4 just because it's a magic number that ends in a 0. Like
Okay.
so,
Okay.
I've got an internal goal to get 40 up and operating. We're getting very efficient and open. The good thing is we've got a
Yeah.
construction background, so I wear one
Yeah,
hat
that
that's
works.
construction and really watching my shareholder dollars and being
Right.
very very prudent with our capital. And then
Yeah.
the other hat is obviously making sure we focus on consumer experiences as they're walking in our stores, and making sure they never want to go anywhere that doesn't have a big G on the building.
I absolutely got to have that big G. I
Yeah.
am telling you, man. So what I really want to talk about, man, is what are some of the special challenges, right, I mean, and we can start by just talking about the difference of the industry from 218 to 223, right?
Yep.
218 was kind of crazy. And now, if you start to look at where we are today, what are some of the major fundamental differences that you find in operating the business today?
Yeah, I think when I was back in my Las Vegas days, like we didn't know if our bank account was going to be there the next day. And so you're writing payroll checks and you don't know if those are going to clear because your bank gets shut down and all these other trials and tribulations, much more cash than it is today. Like today, at the stores, we got twice a week pickup with a Fed truck, drives right over and drops it off for Uncle Sam, gets it on the wire, and we operate closer to a normal business. Like those bank accounts cost more. We don't have credit cards and some little minor issues like that. But today, I've got 5 different banks that know I'm in the cannabis industry. And, we go through that recertification problem, kind of following the Cole memo that's kind of been morphed over the course of time. But having that banking, I think, is the biggest difference for us. And then the rest of it is just pure, we didn't know what we didn't know. And so we're much better operators, and, plant health and getting something in the jar that you can really be proud of is kind of where we're at today. So, and then also getting those efficiencies and like really working on microseconds on that consumer. Like when they pull up to a drive-through in Missouri, how quickly can I get them in? Because, we've got a speaker box outside, or we got a pickup window on the inside of the lobby, and little microseconds like that where they have no reason to go anywhere else, and don't blow us up on our reviews too bad.
That's great. That's great. We're going to take a quick break, man, and then we're going to come back, and I want to really dive into people and brands of your business. Okay, so we'll do that. Hey, I'm Vern Davis. I am your host of Plant Profits, and Plant Profits is proudly brought to you by Produce Global, and my guest today is Mr. John Mueller. He is the CEO of Greenlight Dispensaries, and they're killing it right now. They're expanding in an industry that is quite interesting. So look forward to having you guys back. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Plant Profits. I am your host, Vern Davis, and my guest today, Mr. John Mueller, who is the CEO and founder and co-founder of the Big G, Greenlight Dispensaries. And John, so, we were talking about the differences between now and what it was like in 2018. And you brought up, banking has become a more stabilized part of your business, which makes it more normal. And that's our whole journey here in the cannabis industry is we got to get this thing operating like a normal consumer product business. And because consumers want it and consumers want it to be that way. But, the feeling about being in cannabis today, how does that compare from a talent perspective as you build your organization? Right, you have all these people in these 26 going to be 40 outlets. There's a lot of people involved, but then you have a structure to lead those folks and to deliver the business goals. And what has it been like from a talent perspective of getting people interested and understanding the nuances of the cannabis space?
Yeah, I think you look at it. One, we're very fortunate. So Greenlight now has, I think we're going to, by the end of the week, be at 450 wonderful human beings that work for our business. And so, from top down, CFO and everything in between, I think what we do find is we get much better talent in the cannabis industry than any other retail or restaurant, anything else, even though they start off at $15 an hour and then bonus their way up. But I think, people take, one step backwards for 2 forward. And as a growing company like Greenlight, we've been very fortunate that we've grabbed some young people that come in the store for a retail opportunity that took that 2 steps back. And now they're taking 3 steps forward as they're now the regional manager, or they're the GM, or they're up here in the corporate office. And I think what we are very fortunate to have is in an industry where it's an emerging market, it's still interesting, it's still cool. And people want to, kind of go figure out something a little bit different. And at the end of the day, when you're growing a plant, it's not much different than, the guy that's growing tomatoes and did it 100 years ago. but it's cool. It's getting in a package. It's controlling, the humidity levels and all those other things that go into growing any plant material that the good Lord gave us. But I think from that, and then it's just, logistically of making sure that packaging is dialed in and compliance and everything else. But these people are taking one step backwards to come, so we get much better talent than anywhere else, so they can hopefully take, 3 steps forward.
Great. And you're seeing the progression of your talent inside the organization.
Yeah. We were lucky enough with our other businesses to have a core group, people that have been with me for 15 years and 12 years and 18 years, and having a really core group to build around. And that's kind of built our culture between my brother and I. And we kind of have that same vibe, whether we're in construction or we're in the marijuana industry.
Right. No, it's great. And how do you source it? How do you get what you need? Are you getting it? And what different ways are you getting the folks that in your critical roles, right, and positions? What's the way that you go about it?
Yeah, I think specifically here in Missouri, it's tightened up a little bit on the number of people you can go out and find. But the traditional Indeed routes and people submitting or walking in the stores and things along those lines. Obviously, when we post a job that they're out looking for an accounting job, anywhere, and obviously the cannabis industry pops up. It gets somebody a little more interested, and if nothing else, they get a good education by coming in and hearing and interviewing.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thanks for taking me through that. Tell me about what's working in the stores and consumer interaction, and what are consumers? What does the data show to you in your outlets? What are people buying?
Yeah, I think when obviously in the medical world, we were about 65% flower material, flower pre-rolls. Okay. And we've quickly, and obviously we're only 3 weeks into being adult use here, but they've quickly flipped over. We're almost 50-50 now between your flower material versus, your edibles, gummies, drinks, etc. And we'll carry, roughly 300 SKUs at any one of our stores. And so we're seeing that, that kind of product mix. And then the other one is it's very heavily male dominant consumer base, whether they're buying it for their wife and bringing it home. But you see most of the stores, it's very, you're probably 70% plus of male consumers walking in that door. So I think that's been a little different than what we saw in Las Vegas, where it was just people showing up, getting off airplanes. And then here where it's more localized, it's a very male dominant consumer base.
So do you think there's a little stigmatization about female in cannabis in this Midwestern atmosphere you live in?
Yeah, I don't know if you went into one of the big liquor stores, it might not be the same deal where that's the role of the husband or whatever. But I don't know if it's a stigma or not. But that's who we're seeing walking through the door. But I think you'd probably find that at a liquor store too, now that we're adult use. So I think all us guys have our vices, I imagine.
Yeah, but is it to the point though that you feel like, man, we ought to do something about that, and we need to do some things to, if you look at some of the local data, to attract the female consumer to feel really comfortable and inviting to come into our store?
Yeah, I think anyone, one, I think when the dust settles a little bit more here too, I think that will start morphing back, and they hit target and then come over to our stores. We're in one of our state line stores right on the Kansas state line, is literally in the parking lot of Target. So I think you'll see that morph a little bit more when you got a line outside the building. I don't know that we're ready for that sales pitch to the female consumer yet.
Yeah, but the Target move, that was a nice move.
Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful store.
That's a nice move, brother. I like that. Yeah, that's a good location. Look, that's I say that because I noticed the same thing. Is that you see a lot of guys walking through the store, and less female, and my consumer package Spidey incense tell me that that's a great place to market to, because I wonder if the consumption is closer to 50-50, right?
Yeah.
Because of what you said, right? You're sharing it, somebody's going to get it and sharing it at home or wherever. And it'd be kind of cool to see that happening inside the store. That would be. And I was just curious if you thought there was an opportunity or a problem, or
Oh, I think
that's the way it
definitely
is.
long term. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
long term. There is. Right now, it's figuring out how to move people in and out of there efficiently and making sure that they have a great experience, and then they hopefully bring their wife or girlfriend next time. But our places are cool. It's comfortable in there. There's
Nice.
it's not set up for a male or female. It's set up for the general public to have a really nice, inviting vibe with cool chandeliers and everything else.
Yeah. Or you see specific consumer application trends where, and I'm asking you, it's a loaded ass question, and I'm telling you why, because I really think that, and it's slower happening than I think it should be, and I know it's going to pick up. I think beverage is going to be big.
Yeah, I do too. We hate it when we have vault size issues, but I think it's going to be. I mean, the problem is right now the number that are consuming, that are grabbing that and going is much slower than quite frankly I thought it'd be bigger already too.
Yeah,
and it's still the gummy and the vape are still the king.
The gummy is a monster, man. It's a monster, and it is not going to slow down. But I really think beverage is less than 2% of consumption right now, and I just really think that that's going to grow because it's such a natural social, right? Having a drink and the more I talk about it, and the more I talk to it, I see the female consumer really likes it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just think it's got to taste great. Right. It's got to be
all the drinks out there. We got lemonades and the Keep Colas and all those of the world. They're all great products. It's just such a low, so if you double your business, you made it to 4% of the equation versus, you're still 5x behind the gummy, or 5x behind the vape line still at that point. So it's going to be a slow dredge until you can go to a local bar and basically get a non-alcoholic something or other, and that's part of the equation. So I think we're ways off from that being a dominant force in the stores.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So I want to switch gears here. The Safe Banking Act didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And I just, the temperature I got from the industry starting in January, late December, when everybody figured it wasn't going to happen, is just, we're kind of in a fog. Like, wow, the world is coming to the end, and I'm exaggerating, but it just kind of felt like that. And then I talked to you give me such energy.
I appreciate that.
And you're talking about almost doubling your store count, right? This year. So you're moving on, you're kicking ass, and you're doing your thing. And give me some thoughts from you about when things are going to change from the beautiful thing, the exciting thing that's happening in our industry now is that there's openings. There's states adopting. There's states moving forward. And that gives you juice. And I know it does. But then we got this whole thing happening in the west of you, right? And it's kind of dark, right? And things are not booming and growing. And my concern is that this is somehow a built-in vicious cycle. The state opens, it grows, blooms, expands. It's a beautiful thing, and then all of a sudden, this dark cloud happens because of some things that the operator doesn't really control.
Yep.
And give me your take on that.
Yeah, well, I think specifically in California, everybody thought that would be a lot better, but they're trying to take 2 decades and put the genie back in the bottle. They gave everybody licenses, and I think what we've seen, there's more black market coming out of Oklahoma than there is anywhere else. Like because $2,500 in a beating heart, you got a license and away you go, and you take out second mortgage, and you shouldn't be in the business that and you don't hit your pro forma, so you start doing things that are not part of the regs, and they need 3,000 more regulators to go check on these 20,000 cultivators. It makes no logical sense in an industry like this. And we haven't had the time to have the survival of the fittest. And, if you get caught, you just open up next door. And so I think all these states that are really getting depressed right now, and that cloud that you're talking about, are the ones that just puked out unlimited licenses.
Okay.
And because there's no business there, all of a sudden it turns it into a mom and pop, little smoke vape shop operation, and there's no industry there. As an activist, I like less control, but as a realist and basically having the opportunity to expand this market, and we haven't had the time to have the survival of the fittest, where there's a few brands like there are in the liquor industry that come in and squash all the bugs out of the equation. And that's not going to come for hopefully when my kids are doing this or something, that's when that comes, but because I don't see that coming anytime soon. But this cloud out there, and you look at the equities in the cannabis industry, and they're trading 5 or 6 times earnings. I mean, that's got to be depressing. It's depressing for me as a guy who sold for a bunch of stock too. But you look at that depression there, and literally we're going to get something out of DC at some point. Obviously, everybody thought when the 3 chambers were controlled by the Democrats, that was going to be the low hanging fruit, and it didn't happen. We still think there's a good chance that something will come out, and it's crazy that we are a Schedule I drug and fentanyl is Schedule II. So
that's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Nobody died from cannabis, and everybody dies from fentanyl.
We are hoping Chuck Schumer is going to bring that out and get us descheduled and move fentanyl up to the top, so we quit killing these 70,000 people a year on that.
A year, absolutely. When is it going to happen? Come on, John.
I think maybe summer.
Come on, man. This is recorded now.
I want it tomorrow, but I've literally said, I think I said summer for the last 3 years. So no, I really think they'll introduce something in April, May, and then we'll see if it goes to a vote. It's we just want to vote. How about give us a vote? Obviously the House has done that for years, and get a vote on the floor, and all these states have flipped. You got 38 states with some kind of cannabis program out there. We're way past the tipping point. So hopefully it's here, and it's a deschedule and get this tax situation right, and get us moving forward.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I'm with you. I mean, I don't think we know when, but it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. We got 38 states that's doing something. Right. And more coming.
Absolutely.
We're 2 years away from having, 46 states or whatever in this thing for sure. So somehow or more. But I totally agree with you. I totally agree. What else you think? If you and I had this conversation 2024 sometime in February, what would you say 2023 brought us?
I think you'll see some legislative actions, which generally that didn't happen before. So I think you'll see Kansas and North Carolina come on board. You'll have some other pressure, and then I think a lot of people, you'll start seeing those ballot initiatives like Florida, and those that are really starting to gear up. So you'll see a lot more. You'll probably have 5 to 6 states that are looking to go adult use in the general election in 2024. So I think those will be cranking up. But I think you're going to start seeing a lot of legislative things that are kind of flipping, like a state like Kansas, where people used to tell me like, no way Kansas ever goes where we reside. And I say, if Utah can go, any state can go.
Any state can go.
So absolutely. I think you'll see a lot of legislative items coming, and then we'll from there, I think the ballot initiatives in the general elections, you'll have 6 to 8 states that are doing something in that general in 2024.
Yeah, that's great, man. I tell you what, it was a great pleasure to spend a few minutes with you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And I love that big G, baby. We got to see that
amen.
light everywhere, man. We want to see that big G everywhere.
Yeah,
And
God willing.
yeah. John Mueller, CEO and co-founder of Greenlight Dispensaries. He's killing the world, man. And I love it. And I love your energy. I love it. We need that energy in the space, and we need to share it, and we need to work hard. I can tell you working at it 27 hours a day, I'm sure, because I know when you're asleep, you're thinking about it. But I want to thank everyone for joining us. Obviously, I want to thank John for being here and sharing with us and opening up about the Big G Greenlight Dispensaries. And I want you guys to go out and find Plant Profits podcast. And you can get that on Cannabis Radio, who's our partner in this deal, and they've been amazing. And you can get it on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get podcasts, any platform you get it on. Plant Profits is there. And in time, look for this particular show with John Mueller, CEO and co-founder of Greenlight Dispensaries. He's killing it. And I want you to follow Produce Global, my company, and really understand how we're building companies and how we're changing lives. And that's Produce Global, PROTIS global.com. We'll talk to you next week. So until then, cheers.